Hey everyone, welcome back to Urban Pro Wrestling. We're on the road to our first show on June 26th in Daytona Beach, Florida, 1000 Vine Street. Really excited for that. Tickets are going to come out soon. And with that being said, let's talk about the newest acquisition to the UPW roster. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Quill, how are you, man?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a great Monday morning. It's always great to get these things going. And so with that, like I told you before, I'm always off the top. So we're gonna dive right into it. First things first, Phil, this is a question that everyone has to be asked. Out of all professions, why professional wrestling?
Man, I love being in the ring. I love performing. There's nothing like combat sports. It's a blast, man. I love it. It's such an art form. It's a nice way to express yourself too. It can be kind of fun to express yourself when you're out there and making your entrance in the ring, you know. Yeah, man. So I fell in love with it when I was a young kid, and just the love for it grew and grew and grew, and now it's my passion. You know, I can't go few months without wrestling, or otherwise I'll go crazy.
Right. So you mentioned that that you watched it when you were younger. Do you kind of vividly remember like your first like real introduction to pro wrestling?
You know, my first introduction was really weird. I was, oh man, I want to say I was probably 7 or 8. And I had my cousins staying at my house. And they watched professional wrestling, and I had no idea what it was at the time. Um, and a couple years went by. Um, and I was thinking to myself, what's that show my cousins used to watch when they would come hang out here? Well, it turns out it was Monday Night Raw. I want to say I was probably, man, 10, 11, maybe 12. And was like, you know what? I'm going to look for it. I'm going to see what it was and see if I enjoy it myself. And yeah, man, my love for it grew from there. Professional wrestling was that one thing that was missing.
That's a good one. I like that. To kind of piggyback off that too. So you started falling in love with it, and as time goes on, when did you decide, hey, I love this, I want to do this? When did you kind of make that decision?
Oh man, that's a good one. So I have been decided for a very long time that this is what I wanted to do. It really happened at my first real live show, which happened just to be WrestleMania 24 with my dad. Watching the Money in the Bank ladder match, I was like, man, this is incredible. Like, I want to do this myself, and I could see myself doing it for the rest of my life. Completely changed my life goals. I was originally going to be a marine biologist, and just completely changed my life around to where professional wrestling was it, man. I've been planning to do this since then. All through high school, I was doing research and planning and getting myself ready so that when the time came when I graduated, I could actually just jump straight into it. Went to college for a little bit, tried that, didn't work out. And I said, yeah, this isn't for me. I think it's time to go give it a shot. And from then on, man, it's been nonstop.
And I want to ask this kind of kind of segueing a little bit. First, for starters, what a what a difference in career paths, my goodness. And secondly, you start training, right? Was it like, did it come off naturally for, like, were you kind of like just gradually just getting it and you're kind of just rocking and rolling, or were you kind of in the middle to where it took a little while, but you're kind of on the right foot?
Man, it took me a little bit. I when I started out, I was at a school that I didn't really get to do much at. It was like I would get there, I would work out for 6 hours a day and get to go home. You know, I think I really only got to touch the ring twice while I was at that school. Um, and when I did, I just, it was so hard. It was so hard. I couldn't roll properly. I couldn't bump. It was it was an experience. It just wasn't the right training style for me, I guess. But as time went on, and I went to a new school. I got better and better, and progression came so much more naturally. Um, so it became one of those things where, yeah, I started to pick it up, and pretty quickly. But at first, man, it was such a struggle and so hard for me to do anything so simple as just a simple roll.
Wow. And, as you kind of kept going on and on, when did you kind of realize you were making really great strides? You were progressing really well.
Oh man, honestly, uh, when I really started to notice that I was actually doing some good progress and making strides and actually becoming a good professional wrestler was when I was living out in California and training out there at a place called East Bay Pro. Um, I was training 3 or 4 times a week, and I was really putting in that work, 3 or 4 hours a day, every day, kind of really rocks you, because they started moving me up in classes to the intermediate, to the semi-pro. It was like every couple months I was in a different class. um, and it really started to make strides when at the beginning of the year they were like, oh, you might be able to be in a battle royal, and then 4 months later I was in my debut.
Wow. Fast.
Yeah, it was really quick. It was pretty incredible.
It's like that's like the one thing about this business, man. It goes by so quickly. It's nuts.
For
Um,
sure.
to follow that, so you talked about like your first match and everything. What match do you feel that you probably learned the most from?
Oh man, I always feel like I'm learning something new, something different each and every time I go out there. um I've worked with some cool names. This is such a hard question. um Honestly, I want to say that the match that I've probably learned the most from at the current moment's one of my favorites from when I lived in California. It was with a guy named Sean Sims, the Eater of Faces. Um, and it was right after my partner had given up on wrestling for whatever reason, never told me or our manager at the time. Um, but basically had given up on wrestling. Um, didn't tell any of us. It was show day. And I kept saying, hey, man, where's David? Where's David? And David never showed up. And they go, well, David quit. So they were like, guess what, kid? Here's your first singles match. And they put me out there, and it was like night and day. It was pure magic, man. That was the easiest and most fun match that I've ever had in my life.
Wow. All right. And to kind of segue a little bit, do you always kind of feel it's easier to be a face or a heel for you?
Man, personally, I love being a face, being a heel can be fun, but being a face is fun as well. And if you can kind of mix the two and be in that in between state where you're cocky and an ass, but you're also not at the same time, you have even more fun because you can get away with a lot more. Um, but yeah, personally, I like being a face. That's what I've been my whole career almost.
All right. And my next one would be psychology. I really like to ask this question. How important is that in ring psychology for you?
Man, psychology, it's actually pretty important, to tell a proper story, even if there's not an actual promo behind it, or it's just like a one-off. You want to have a proper story, and psychology is the way you get that. If I'm working your leg, then I'm going to destroy your leg, because if you can't use that leg, you can't fight, you can't walk. So psychology is super important. You can't throw 1,000 super kicks and get up from every single one of those. Super kick was always meant to be a finish, not a just an everyday. Here, everybody's doing it. Why not us?
Right.
Same thing with a pile driver. A pile driver was always meant to be your kill shot. Not a, yeah, let's just put this out there because it looks good. So psychology is definitely super important, and unfortunately, it feels like the business has pulled away from that a little bit and gone towards more of a, well, everybody's doing it, so I'm going to do it kind of mindset.
True. That is very true. So the next one I got, I wanted to know because I asked this for the sole fact that everyone has like renamed every move in the book at this point. So, what is your finisher? What and the name of it to break it down for the good people at home?
Oh man, I've got a few of them. I've got a few I haven't even gotten to use yet. Um, so right now, the one that I've been running with the most is my stage dive cutter, which is basically, cutter off the top all the way out to the middle of the mat for the pin. There's, what did I call my stomp? I want to say I called it the Dark Dreams. It's basically just the curb stomp from not even a running stance, literally just standing there and hitting the curb stomp. I have a pile driver that I haven't even gotten to use. So, when that gets pulled out, that'll get a name. But yeah, right now we're just using the stage dive cutter and the Dark Dreams.
All right, and the Dark Dreams was actually really cool. I really like that one.
Thank you,
um,
thank you.
to to follow with that, my next one would be we've talked about it quite a bit right now, actually, in this. What are your goals in pro wrestling? So we've talked about, so far how you've developed, your arsenal to a certain point, but what are your goals?
Man, honestly, if you asked me this question, 4 or 5 years ago, because I'm actually going on year 7 right now. If you asked me this question 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be telling you, oh, I want to go work for Impact. Oh, I want to go, work here, work there. Honestly, man, the goal has changed so much over time now that it's just, I want to be a full-time professional wrestler. I want to do this every single day that I possibly can, and work for fun, basically, because, this is the one thing that makes sense that I actually enjoy doing. So, if I could make it a full-time gig instead of, whenever I can find a booking or whatever, that's a goal for sure. Getting my name out there for sure is more of a goal for me because, I'm not really tapped into this market just yet. The pandemic kind of messed everything up coming from California during the pandemic. My fan base is mainly back out there in the Bay Area. So getting out here, working more shows in this area to try to grow my fan base out here and, man, just do the thing. That's the real goal right now.
And my next one, I actually just had it. Don't know how I just lost it. Wow, that sucks. Here we go. I'm gonna give you this one until I can think of the other one. What are your goals in UPW?
Man, my goals right now, just debut, man. Just debut, get the people to know my name, come out there and show them what I got, get some respect. And man, I'm going to go for any title you got. I'm not picky. I'll take your tag belt. I'll take your mid card. I'll take your heavyweight championship. I'll take them all. Hell, even if you got a hardcore title, I'll take that too.
It's because it's funny we talk about championships. That's the topic that normally almost always comes up. There we go. Who were your inspirations?
Oh man, that's a great question. I have a lot. And anybody who really loves the old school is going to hate me a little bit because old school professional wrestling is not my favorite. So I don't have a lot of big legends on my list. I would say right now my biggest ones are going to be people like Jeff Hardy. It's going to be John Cena, had me there for a little bit. Jake Christ of OVE, Ohio's for Killers. Sammy Callahan is a big one for me. Darby Allin recently has caught my eye. Just mainly those guys who are the high flyer brawler kind of guys.
Now I gotta ask, were you also the kid who kind of like swantoned off their bed frame?
Man, that's how I learned to do the swanton so well.
Oh no. Like the third time I've gotten, I'm like, oh, every time I think of Jeff Hardy, I'm like, oh, you were one of those. How are your bones
Always
not broken?
practicing to do it. Yep. Always practicing to do it.
Good Lord. And honestly, I think the last one that I have, I've actually like never asked before. Is there any advice that you would give to people starting out?
Man, that is a loaded question right there, for sure. Honestly, any advice that I could give for anybody starting out is the same thing that I have already given out before. Stick with it. It may seem hard now, but put in the work and it'll be worth it. Get in that gym, bust ass, get in the ring, bust ass, and just don't give up, man. Like, if you're on day one or you're on month 3, year 2 of training, like, just keep going. Shit's gonna get hard, trust me. But if you just keep moving, you'll get past it. If you can't do something today, try again tomorrow. If you can't get it tomorrow, well, then maybe you'll get it next week. Like, it's not meant to be easy, because if it was easy, anybody could do it.
Agreed.
That was the best advice that I was ever given. So I try to pass that on any chance I get. Truthfully, it is true. If anybody could do it, then everybody would do it, and we wouldn't be so special. We wouldn't be, such a small group. And trust your friends. Like, trust your friends in the locker room. Trust your family in the locker room, because they'll always have your back and look for your best interest.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if you had more. I didn't want to stop you.
I know you're good. You're good.
So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I like ending these off on a high note, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. Mr. Ryan Quill, do you have any social media you want to plug?
Oh man, shoot, I don't even remember my own handles at the current moment. I know I have a pro wrestling tease out there somewhere, though. Just search Ryan Quill.
That's what we're going with. All right. So with that, folks, we will have our tickets out for June 26th. You'll be seeing Ryan Quill there as well, making his debut on our first ever show. June 26th, Daytona Beach, Florida, the 1000 Vine Street, the Yvonne Scarlett Golden Educational and Arts Center. Don't miss it. Follow us on Instagram at Urban Pro Wrestling. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Urban PW. And we have a website. Go check it out, www.urbanpw.com. It's your all-access stop to anything UPW. It'll always be updated and highlighted throughout the week. It'll be a great place to get anything you guys need. So with that, we have covered everything except for the YouTube. Oh, yes, Urban Pro Wrestling, you're watching this right now. Subscribe, hit the button, hit the like, leave a comment below. We will see you guys next time. As always, everybody, stay off the hook. Can't wait to see you guys June 26th.